This is Shahan Mustafa, and I am interviewing Marcus McDonald on Tuesday, July 6, 2021, at the St. Julian Divine Center. Can you say and spell your full name?
Marcus, M-A-R-C-U-S, McDonald, M-C-D-O-N-A-L-D.
Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Columbia, South Carolina originally, on Oak Street. I lie. I was born in Maryland, Silver Springs, but I moved away from there when I was like a couple months old, so I don't have that much memory of it. But yeah, I grew up and raised Columbia on Oak Street in the 5 Point / Waverly area.
Can you tell us about your family?
Yeah, sure. So both my parents are deaf or hard of hearing. So mom's halfway deaf and my dad's fully deaf. So I feel like it's influenced the way how I am. They're the only deaf people in their family. So they're kind of like the black sheeps in their family. So like as a child of them, I kind of had to find my own. But yeah, no, family is nice on both sides. My dad and my mom both in my life. Dad's side's more from Sumter, rural area, but my great-great-grandma actually can trace her lineage to Boone Hall Plantation, where she was enslaved and unfortunately impregnated by the slave masters, which they're notorious for. But regardless, that's where my family history comes from. All of it stems from Charleston, on my mom's side as well, more downtown Charleston. Yeah, so that's my family. And I got an older brother, a younger brother, and two younger sisters.
And where does your immediate family stay right now?
Immediate family stays in Columbia, and I got some aunties who live out here in Charleston with me.
And where did you go to school?
Went to school at ACU Florida High School, and then I went to College of Charleston for higher education. Went to school for finance.
And what sorts of classes did you take?
So, high school, I guess, we took normal classes. I was in advanced classes, so I was interested in that. And also really advanced in math and stuff. And then moving forward to college, I was actually originally a political science major. So I wanted to do that originally, and my mom was like, you need to do something that makes you money. So I changed my major to finance and still enjoyed it. Obviously, totally different career path, but they do intertwine a lot. If you see a lot of these politicians talk, they always talk about money, where we're gonna get the money from. So that's what the classes I taught. I'm glad I took them because they're applicable in a lot of different things.
And you mentioned both of your parents are deaf or hard of hearing, and you mentioned that has influenced you. How would you say that influenced you?
Well, I verbalized it really recently on my Father's Day post, but I think my granddad really taught me how to speak because he was the close person who was speaking in my family. He's always real well spoken. He was a minister, or he is a minister. And like I said, both of my parents are quiet, so I feel like it's quiet, obviously, because they're deaf. But it shaped me because it taught me you don't have to always speak to be impactful. Sometimes my dad will your whole learning how to use your nonverbal communication, I guess would be the best words. They live on that because that's all they can use. So I've seen my dad flirt with girls at my 16th birthday party who could hear now and be talking with them and having a great time. He can't hear anything you're saying, but still and just having that presence is something that, both my dad and my mom just shown me. If you have a presence and you have your body language and all that different type of stuff, that matters. And, sometimes my mom will go whole conversations without saying anything, but I'll translate her or talk to her and she'll have thoughts about it, but just won't say anything until it's absolutely necessary. She speaks on something. So I think that's one of the most ways, just I don't speak on everything at first. I let other people talk and I let other people, say what they need to say. And then after I've collected what people are thinking, then I'll say what I need to say if there's some, that I need to input, So that's how I think, it's taught me to be a good listener and a good, valuing silence,
What was growing up like for you?
It was tough. So growing up with a mom who had disabilities, it was always hard for her to find a job. She worked at Hardee's for a lot of different fast food joints. Worked for my granddad, which was probably the best times as far as pay-wise, because my granddad had a restaurant and a catering service. So he would always just pay them really well And then once he went out of business, it kind of like she had to like bop around and do different things. This also is around the time when I was in high school. So my granddad shut down his business because he had a restaurant and a catering service, closed both of those down. And then I was in high school, and mind you, there's the saying like in the black community as far as like jump off the porch, and that's when you like as a man or even as a woman just like get like away from your family as much, and you start like hanging out with friends and like going out and like doing your thing. So I jumped off the porch like early age, around like 14, 15, around like 15, 16 more accurately, but started like hanging out, and I did get in some crowds that I wish I didn't get into, and I got in some different things, but and another part, and this goes back to my family history, the person I was named after, Marcus, he's actually in prison, serving a lifetime sentence for a shooting that happened when he was like 17. So they named me after him, and once I started getting in trouble, they're like, oh, like we don't want to have you end up like Marcus, or we want you the best for you, obviously. I'm glad they did, but I'd say like I grew up, it was tough, especially around 5 Points area. They call it the one side, but that and the area GGP, which is like was the neighborhood next to me. I remember always like I could see it walking from my house because it was like on a hillside, like we were on a hill, and we could see GGP from this side. But there's a lot of people there who hated me, and like they like threatened my life and whatnot. And just I remember that like thinking, like looking over there, like I just having like a connotation around that whole neighborhood. And mind you, I went to school with them too, so just like it was just tough like dealing with that. People who I used to grow up with now, like they hate me, want to fight me and stuff. So just like it was tough growing up. But I'd always been the kid who was like always in my books too. Like fun fact about me, I used to like bring the Bible to school, even though I don't practice Christianity now. I used to like just bring the Bible to school because I was interested in learning and like learning more things. That's always been my thing. So even when I was getting into like trouble, even like my OGs, people who were like been in this for a long time, they're like, you were smart, dude. Like you don't have to be in, like, you know what I mean? Like you have a future. And even people my age and even older than me was like, you have a future, dog. Like go out and do it. Like one of us has to make it out the hood. So long story short, that's kind of just like, that was my upbringing, just like, just being in the mix, being with my friends, but also just being that one smart guy. So all right, maybe we shouldn't do this, or maybe we should do this a different way type thing. So that's always been my my MO.
Can you describe the neighborhood you grew up in? Yeah,
so it was like low to middle class. So we had some middle class black folks live there, but there's definitely a lot of poverty. Just especially that I experienced personally, but in our neighborhood. So like I said, there's a lot of middle class black folks, but there's a lot of people who are going down bad, especially the public housing complex I mentioned, Gonzalez Gardens. That was probably like 4 or 5 blocks away from me, but extreme poverty there. They actually, and there was like a lot of violence going on there too. So I think about it too, like they tore down the project apartment now, but before I kid you not, but from age 14 to like 18, I probably witnessed, or not even witnessed, but heard about at least like 7 to 8 killings that I knew about. Like I knew them, or like I knew of what was going on within like a 4-year span. And it's like, I don't know, that's crazy. Just like that was like when I was in high school, just like, if I stay here, I could be one of those bodies, like thing like that. So I'd say, oh, and like the neighborhood I was talking about, like I said, with all those bodies, it was also on gangland too. So like everybody who was there was like Bloods, and they're like, I don't know, I'd say it definitely was a hectic growing up environment. Just like a lot of those people who I grew up with, like we played basketball and stuff growing up. And then once we hit the age like 14, 15, everything changed, and people started picking their neighborhoods, picking who they wanted to rock with, who not want to rock with. And, like I said, those lines just got cut around that age, and it was tough for me. But, I like did a lot of stuff in school that I feel like helped put me in different places. Like I did youth in government. I started the creative writing club. I ran for treasurer like 3 times, never got it. So I just did like a lot of different things to just like keep me active in school. And I think that, helped me like get out the situation I was, and decided to move to Charleston and get my grades up. Because there's a time where I was like skipping class a lot and not really, my mom was afraid I wasn't even going to be able to graduate. So like, they didn't even think I was going to be able to graduate high school. So to see me like graduate high school and also graduate college, and obviously like I knew I could have graduated high school. Like some of the classes were just stupid. I was in AP classes as well. But I said to say, I'd always kept myself in different little circles, and always been a good at just like wearing different hats, like be in the hood, wear a certain hat, be youth government wearing a hat. I was in Young Democrats as well, so just a lot of different, me trying to stay active. I was also in band too, so I loved doing like jazz band. I loved just like, you know, being in that like little realm, like just like I felt like that was like one of my safer spaces. Like so much be going on outside, but like I go into that band room and I just like vibe. We had like a band class, like we started jazz band class my junior, junior year. So I remember that's my favorite one. We just like go in there, we improvise a little bit, watch like a jazz movie, and just like chill. Lights were off, literally just like a vibe. So I remember just like certain parts of that from my childhood that I remember were real key, and really glad I had them.
And you mentioned that you moved to Charleston. Around what time was that, and why did you move to Charleston?
So that was when I graduated. So it was wild because like Charleston was blowing up, and I'm like, I kind of like low-key wish I moved a little bit early, like maybe a year early, but obviously I was still in school. But I moved like after graduation. So I graduated high school in 2015, and then started attending college like that following fall. So yeah, just around that time. But that was also just like for backstory around what's happening, like Mother Emanuel happened that summer, and I think Walter Scott happened like either, I don't know, I think it happened like earlier that year. And yeah, it was like the culmination of all that, like Black death and Black violence was what I was walking into, and I was like, like I don't know, like I didn't have any friends. It was definitely like a switch, because like I was in the hood a lot like before, so it was like a switch from like, but, and obviously like I still had like white friends, and I still had people who were like well off, but I was just like, I don't know, it was definitely like, I was nervous for sure, like going in, just like, am I gonna fit in, da-da. And I ended up finding like friends who like, you know, I call my brothers, but I say yeah, I moved 2015, been here ever since.
Can you talk a little bit more about your college experiences, specifically as a Black man?
Yeah, sure. So it was weird fitting in. I remember one time, like the first time it really hit me, like, damn, yeah, I can curse, right? Can I curse? Yeah, okay. Well, anyways, but I was like, yeah, damn, like, the first time I really noticed it was, I mean, obviously I didn't notice it. I mean, I'm always gonna be a Black man, but the one time it really hit me was like, I think it was only like, I don't even think school had started yet. This is one of like the rush parties that they do for like frats to get people to join in or whatever. But anyways, so we go to this frat party. There's like, you know, jungle juice. Like it was a lot of dudes. I remember I was like, I'm not really rocking with this. But I was like, so we're chilling, like drinking, having a good time, and just, or not even drinking, having a good time. I get a drink, and I catch the vibe, like niggas looking at us weird, and like I don't even think nobody said nothing, but just the way they was looking at me, some just like, I was like, I need to leave. So I dipped. My white friend who was with me, he called me. I was like, where you going? Like, we chilling, having a good time. I was like, I just didn't get the good vibes. So it's like, but that would happen to me at a lot of different parties, and I'd see them point me out if I went to a party that was like a white frat party, and be like, yo, like, did you, like, are you with us? Like, da-da-da. But if it was one of my white friends who walked in, they barely checked in, because one, I would definitely stand out because I'm one of the only Black people at the party, but two, it's like, bro, like, tell all of us to leave, or, you know what I mean? Like, just be equitable. So I was like, fuck all that. I'm not joining your frat. There was a couple homies in my frat who I, like, rock with heavy, who were like, and not in my frat, but like, in some of the white frats who, like, I still call my brothers today. Like, I literally hit them up, like, about last week. But, so I did have some, like, older homies who, like, looked up, you know, white and Black, who just, like, were the homies. And, like, I just guess I had to, like, get that myself. But I didn't join a frat. I joined outdoors club. Like, other than clubs, like, I just kind of, like, made my own little lane. And it was tough, too. Here's another thing. So they were really bad about drug use and, like, alcohol and stuff. And it felt to me that I had a target on my back, because, you know, I had smoked allegedly, and like a few times, and they caught up with us, and they had like weird rules. Like if you were even in the vicinity of somebody who's smoking or drinking, you get caught, and whatever, and it get put on your not like criminal record, but it get put on your school record. So I probably got in trouble like 3 or 4 times, and it was my 4th time, and they'd already moved me from a dorm, which is actually good because I was in an all dudes dorm, moved to the co-ed dorm, so I was like, all right, bet. But anyways, but yeah, like I said, I did feel like a target was on my back for a long time, especially from the school. And I remember the last talk we had with the dude, and I always remember this because I always think like alternate universe, if I took this dude's advice, my whole reality would be changed, and reality of Charleston, I feel like. But he was talking to me, he was like, man, like, this is your 4th time getting in trouble, like, you sure Charleston's the place for you? Maybe we need to move away. And I actually thought about it, but I was like, man, fuck all that, I'm gonna stay, because like, one, my family's out here, I was like, I'm gonna stay, because it's like, nah, fuck all that, like, I've been doing this, like, I don't know where the fuck I was going, like, if I go back to Columbia, I'm getting some bullshit. Literally sad story, every time I go to Columbia, some shit happens. Like, last couple times I went there, like, I was in a parking spot, somebody like pulled a gun on me for being in front of the house. I was like, it's just a parking spot. But anyways, I'd say though, college experience was good. It was mixed for sure. Target on my back, I did falter academically sometimes, because sometimes my math wasn't on point, sometimes hard to stay focused, and a lot of other options too. And I just feel like after too, like I was a finance major, so I know there's a lot of kids there whose dads did finance, and their dad made a lot of money already. So it's like, whatever they did, it didn't really matter because they know they was gonna get a job after. But me, or their dad had that shit, and they were trying to get on their own to like not seem like they're doing it, but still they probably could do it as a backup. But regardless, that was not my background. I don't have anybody in finance who in my direct family at all. I have some people in science stuff, but yeah, like nobody in finance. So I was like, I just had to work my ass off, and like still that wasn't enough. Like I got a pretty shitty job after. It was an alright job, but regardless, that's my college experience. It was mixed, but I definitely got through it with the help of my friends and just folks around me.
You mentioned earlier that you were originally a political science major and decided to switch to finance. What led you to that decision? Well,
just my mom. I knew either way that I'd want to get into political activism. I didn't know it was going to be with the Black Lives Matter movement. I didn't know what movement it was going to be with, but I did know I just wanted to be involved in some way and help people and fight for something I believe in.
And now that you're mentioning Black Lives Matter, what sort of work do you do for that organization? What's your role?
Well, I'm the lead organizer, and as far as like the organization goes, and I'm not sure if you're totally familiar with it, but it's a decentralized organization. So you have the national organization that does sponsor and, I associate with might not be the right word, but they do a lot of work with the chapters they associate with, like the BLM Chicago, BLM LA, BLM I think Louisville. So like some of the bigger cities, they have BLMs and they're associated with the national chapter. There's smaller ones, and even the big cities like Atlanta has one, upstate New York has one, Philly has one. They're not associated with the national organization, and that's them for 2 reasons. Either one, the national chapter does a lot of stuff to make it hard to like get in. It's like you have to be a nonprofit, you have to do, check a lot of boxes. They pretty much make it really difficult. And they stopped doing it for a long time. They stopped like accepting new chapters, and also you have to like really follow exactly in line with what they believe in. And some people just don't rock follow that. And then some people just there's like this whole like BLM 10 thing where people like they thought that the individual chapters should get more money and the national chapters are getting too much. I don't know. I stayed out of it, but we as an organization stayed out of it. But I say we're an independent chapter, so we don't really have that many connections with the national organization at all. We connect through them. What's the word? I guess like I don't know what the word. I guess through the grapevine, just close to the word. But with the state chapter does stuff work with them. But as far as the organization, it just be me and the team I got. I don't know if I messed it up, but it's just the team and the team that we got. We just do what we need to do. But as far as like work we do, it's really it doesn't feel like less like what I do for the organization. It's like what needs to be done for the community. That might sound like corny, whatever, but it really, we really don't have like that lead from the organization, like an higher power. It's just, you know, what I'll like put something forth to the group and like, this is what's going on. Let's have, and we'll usually just bring it up in the meeting and I'll do it. It's like, all right, this is what's happening. This is what I'm thinking. Like, what do y'all think? And try to just get input on how we can fix the solutions. But I try to like keep my, as a leader, like try to keep my ears to the ground. Like, all right, what are the issues? So once we come up with a plan, we know we're not just like doing some bullshit and nobody really is gonna help somebody. We like try to like make sure it's gonna be like something that's feasible and you know that somebody's actually asking for help with. So to answer your question though, as far as like the main work we do, advocacy towards legislation, abolition legislation in particular in regards to law enforcement and the penal system. So we stray away from like some of the traditional forms like community policing. We're really against that because what it really does is take money from the communities and put it into like a cop advertising scheme. That's bullshit in my opinion. But so we fight a lot against that. We just had a big battle we're still fighting with Back to Green. They called their community center, or their police substation, a gathering center, which is real problematic because like the original cops here were slave catchers. So slave catchers, slave gatherers, gathering center seems sketchy to me. But in a black neighborhood that's getting mad gentrified, and gentrification is a huge, I'm not gonna go too deep in this because I go on a rant, but gentrification and cop brutality is like, they go hand in hand because what they'll do is they'll be like, all right, we want to make this area go up and whatever. So like increase the cop presence so much that people just don't want to live there. Like for example, with even the Breonna Taylor case, like that area is trying to get gentrified out, and that should happen. And that's not to say that person did that thing exactly because of gentrification, but they're linked. Like they, as a law enforcement person, you accept orders from the city or the state, and you withdraw your own your moral compass on the shit. So that's a whole nother thing on like why we're so anti-police. But so law enforcement, another one of our big tenets, our tenet is the abolition of law enforcement and the penal system. So we do work around that and how we can gradually abolish the system, and also, and I use gradually loosely, like we're making like active steps, like we want this to happen at certain dates and times, but it's a marathon, not a sprint. Regardless, so that's one side of the things. We do a lot of economic empowerment stuff. So we do financial literacy centers. We help people if they're looking for employment. We usually like try to help with like resumes and stuff. People ask us all the time, like, oh, you need help with this? You have any? A lot of employers ask us like, oh, like we need X, Y, and Z type. Somebody who's looking for a job. Black employees especially, and we usually hook it up. We had a girl here who actually did some art at the at one of our art shows, and some lady who's an artist was like, yo, I need an art, whatchamacallit. And mind you, the girl, she was only like 16, 17, and I sent, the artist her way. I was like, hey, like, boom, 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 connected, and she was like, oh, I'm actually looking for somebody a little bit older. She waited for a little bit, I was like, actually, that might work. And like I said, just connect, that's like a full-time job, or part-time job for her now while she's in school. So just try to make connections like that. We've been real into with affordable housing, so stuff in that lane. Reparations, we're super passionate about reparations for black folk for slavery and Jim Crow and everything leading up to that. Also, another thing we're passionate about is education. So we have our ECDC center that we work with pretty closely that y'all were just at. We do back to school drives. We do actually in regards to education, like school, CCSD is about to get millions of dollars for funding, and we're really pressuring them to put some of that money into community centers, because a lot of the times the kids might not want to go to a program at school, but they'll go to one down the street community center. So, and we started even for our learning pod. We had a learning pod for about almost a whole school year last year. And what it was is pretty much kids just like went to the community center, was able to do all their online classes and get tutoring. And we had like extracurricular activities in lunch for them. And that was like all throughout the school year. So like, I don't know, that was just like one of our big achievements. Like I felt really proud about it because it was something that we literally had to like pull, like we came up with the idea before the school system was even saying that they would be doing or giving funds for it. So we already had the place renovated and like had computers, all that before school even started. And then once it started, we were just like ready to go. We had a couple of back school drives, had everybody materialed up and ready to learn. So that's just something we're real passionate about. Also in the curriculum with this whole like CRT fight, even though CRT critical race theory isn't even in schools, but working on changing the curriculum to better represent our people, something that we've been really passionate about, and I actually have to follow somebody on it soon. But just things of that nature. So it's a wide range. People like to put us in a box of like, oh, they're just protesting to defund the police, when there's so much more than that. Our mission statement is we're advocating for programs and legislation that empower the Black community by any means necessary. So that's what we stand by. So we try to do any type of programs and legislation that looks and sounds like it could benefit our people, especially in Charleston. We try to jump at it.
Can you talk about when and how you got involved with BLM in Charleston?
Yeah, so I guess a good way to introduce that is there's an old BLM chapter here. So kind of give you more information about like the shoes I was stepping in. So the old chapter, like I was saying earlier, like Walter Scott happened here and a lot of other Black deaths, and especially the May 9 as well. And my great grandma was actually the oldest member of that church. She died at 102. But what was I about to say? So there's a chapter before. It's led by Muhyiddin Dabaha. He was the lead organizer, did a lot of great movement work, protested real heavy. For Walter Scott, ended up getting Michael Slater convicted, was one of the only, I think it's like 5 cops who've been convicted of murder, you know what I mean, in history. It might be even less in the United States in history. And the other one's Michael Slater, not Michael Slater, but Derek Chauvin. But it's like, that's so rare. So I commend him so much for doing that work. He was a real big, community member. So he did like, food drives, school drives, all that, similar to what we do today. Had this overarching program. But regardless, so 2015 was real big, had the BLM chapter going. I guess in the following years, things just like, the movement shifted. He was going through financial trouble. I think he was going through bouts of homelessness, just really going through it. And I don't know what happened, but this would put the nail in the coffin from the old chapter, I believe. And I'm gonna be quoted on everything, but I think, and I'm 90% sure because this is what I've been told by other members, but there's a real big split on are we like pro homosexuality, or are we pro like LGBT? And we just not in our group, because I want to say 40% of our group identifies LGBT. But anyways, so what was I about to say? So there's a big fallout between that. The whole BLM chapter kind of imploded, and Muhyiddin moved out to New Orleans because he was just trying to start a movement out there and, getting things going. So he moved out there, was out there for like 6 months, 7 months. And we don't know what happened. Apparently it was like false identification, but somebody shot him and he was killed out of New Orleans, 2017, I think. But so those shoes I was stepping into, so obviously big feet to fill. He was like real well known. He was also real well known for a video. He yanked this Confederate flag out of somebody's hand and ran off with it. So that was like when they were taking the Confederate flag down too. So real instrumental in all that. But so I started out George Floyd protests, flashback, so even before the big protest, actually, I felt like there wasn't I knew there wasn't a BLM chat. I knew there was a BLM chat when I got there. I was like, I haven't heard anything. Like, the BLM chat should be speaking right now, because the video went everywhere, and you could tell before the video dropped, when it dropped, you could tell it was everywhere. So I was like, I need to do something. So I was like, I know how to make Instagram. I'm pretty good with it. Saw something on the Facebook, didn't really see them posting anything. So I was like, all right, boom, we started it up. So I just started started the Instagram account, and then I was like, unofficial chapter, just trying to get word out, spread information about protests happening here. So that's how I started out, just like getting people aware about protests and what's going on. So started out just getting people more information about the protests we had. There's a big one on Saturday and there's a big one on Sunday. They got real hectic. Well, both of them got real hectic for different reasons. But that's how I got started, just like going, showing up. I had the Instagram account, so I just like record and like, this is what's going on, show up. And yeah, just like it gained traction. I think in our first like 2 or 3 weeks, we were already at like, 5,000 followers, which isn't that much, but you know, it's like for starting out, I was like, all right, boom. We had that, had it started up. Obviously, like the protest died down, and it was a group, like our original group was thick, like it was like 30, 40 people. And then there's a lot of like people who obviously fell off, did their own thing. And then it hits like a tipping point when they're like, all right, because I didn't even introduce myself as leader. I was like, I'm just a part of this. I run the Instagram account. But I started taking more leadership positions and nobody was saying anything. So I was like, somebody has to keep shit going. And I was like, all right, bet. So I think it was like maybe like 2 or 3 weeks in, and I was speaking at an event and somebody introduced me as the president. And people were like, oh, he's not the president. We ain't coming to vote with that. So I said, all right, vote. You know, I thought I had a good chance. I was like, you know, people rock with me, you know, da-da-da. I find out I probably got like, so the poll in itself, in my opinion, was rigged because I was like, it wasn't me versus like other candidates. It was like me, no president, or somebody else's president. And I think I got the lowest one. Somebody else's president got the lowest one. I got second lowest, and then somebody else's like overarching one. So I think I like 40 people. I probably got like 9 of the vote. You know, like 25%. You know, 30%, something like that. And I was like, damn, like I got a lot of work to do. So from then on there, I like just put shit ton of work in, like organized a back to school drive, organized a whole bunch of shit, and just like kept at it. And then like a month or two after that vote, I don't think we had a official like, yeah, you're the leader, but it was like I had to work my ass off to get to that point. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like, you're the leader now, we do what you're saying. And even when I became leader, people still, you know, like I get people try to call me out a couple of times just on bullshit, obviously. But yeah, just it was a process. But yeah, not after about 2 or 3 months, I became the leader, and I've been doing it ever since. Just, you know, staying on point and, you know, making sure, you know, everybody's voice is heard, but it's the right voice.
As a BLM organizer, are there any other organizations you collaborate with currently? If so, can you tell me more about them? Oh yeah, tons. So first one, ECDC. I'll tell you about our relationship. Man, I do not know what, where, or how, where BLM chapter. I don't know if we'd even exist the way we do if we hadn't have found ECDC. And they reached out to me too. And I remember our first meeting actually, because it was over Zoom. But I remember vividly because I remember everything was going on. This was like June, like mid-June, and everything was going on. I think, and this is what happened too. It was like a relationship born out of trauma. So apparently after the Sunday protest where they were arresting everybody, mind you, that was one of the most hectic days of my life. And I remember I'd play this game like that week even, like where I like hold my breath, and if I could hold my breath until I get a notification. That's how many notifications I get. And I remember one time I did it, it was like past midnight, and I was still just getting notifications like every like 5 seconds, 10 seconds. And it was fucking crazy. It was like, did a lot on my mental health and my stress. And I'm glad I I wasn't even really able to take a break. I got coronavirus, and like my whole shit, like you know how it fogs up your memory, and like I was like, I really just can't do shit right now, you know what I mean? But I say that to say, so yeah, ECDC, apparently after that Sunday protest, a whole bunch of cops came in and started like on the Eastside, like right there pretty much, and started like tear gas, pepper spray, not pepper spray, but tear gas and pepper bullets, shooting it at just Eastside residents who were sitting on the porch. So the Eastside community was like, what the fuck's going on? So they called the shit chief, because before then they had to get a relationship. It's like, chief, what the fuck going on? And they're like,
and the chief was like, well, there's a trash can on fire, and LaTanya was like, don't have shit to do with you tear gassing folks. And he was like, well, y'all do know y'all have a bad drug problem, verbatim from the chief of police. And I think since then, he has still not gotten that respect back from her. Cause like to blame a community's drug problem, not like those people in King Street don't be doing drugs every damn night, but to blame a community's drug problem on the reason why you're like brutalizing them is so abhorrent. So anyways, they reached out to me and was like, all right, chief is on some bullshit, so we're gonna have to talk to you. So like, they chat up me. There's like, we rock with we rock with the movement. Like, I helped them out with the rally that they had. I'm on the east side about it, and we just connected real tight. I helped renovate their whole place. Like, I don't know if y'all seen it before, or y'all haven't seen it before, but before it was totally different space. Like, we redid the flooring, the walls, the painting. That bar wasn't there with the computers. That wasn't there. We had to put that on. Laptops, all that. So they are really transformative in our relationship. And like I said, that's like our home base pretty much. So that relationship was real dope. LAC, they do a lot of work. They're probably the most similar to us in Charleston, the Low Country Action Committee. The difference between, and honestly, like, full disclosure, it wasn't the best relationship. And I don't know if we're going to get into it, but there's a lot, like, coming in. There's a lot of black organizations that didn't rock with me. And still to this day, like, there's some people who just not totally with it. And I remember the first one, and I'm not going to go on the smear campaign, because, like, obviously, like, the ones who I'm about to talk to, we're cool now. Like, I'll hit them anytime. But one recently, Charleston Activist Network, who, like I said before, we're cool now, but was at my neck when I was first coming in. So it was like a lot of like damn, like trying to figure out like relationship building, because like not everybody's gonna like you, but like you're gonna have to make them respect you, and that's what I feel like I did for my dedication. And people seeing that, they're like, oh yeah, this isn't some like just clout chaser or whatever. So Charleston Activist Network, we're cool now. Mika, I think it's just her. It's not an organization, but we're cool. Our relationship's good. We do a lot of advocacy work. Low Country Action Committee, like I said, they help us out on the east side a lot. We're actually doing the summer camp together. So we do a lot of, they have a lot more backing than I'll ever have, because they have Avery Research Center. So they get support from the college, and whoever supports them versus us is kind of just like us. So, they help in the way they can though. But yeah, those are like some of the organizations I'm closest with that we do a lot of work with.
And outside of the ECDC and the LAC that you mentioned, are there any other organizations you work with closely? Yeah, so
let me think. I work with, I'm trying to think any other, there's a ton. So I'm trying to figure out the best ones, but I work with a lot of different folks. We have like People's Army and Black Flag Militia. They do a lot of our, work, like marshalling work for protests, so that's always important, just like scouting out the perimeter. We do work with ACLU a lot. They've given us credence on a lot of stuff because they're a national organization, so they've helped us out with research and like different stuff like that. So we try to stay connected with them and do as much work as we can. CAGEM also, I can't forget them. They do a lot. They're like Charleston Area Justice Ministry. And they've been doing a lot of work since Muad'Din passed away, actually, but they're real instrumental in getting the racial bias out of North Charleston and the city of Charleston. Treva, who runs it, me and her talk all the time. Jerry, who's in it, me and him, he's actually my mentor. He runs the American Society for Literature and African American History, but I consider him a mentor to me. Like, we're always chatting it up, working on different things. So, both of those organizations, ACLU and People's Army, all those folks do a lot of good work. Trying to think of anybody else, but like also businesses too. Like business help us out. Like Zaba's have been a real good ally. Dell's, which is black-owned vegan restaurant. They've been hitting us up a lot, supporting. Sightsee Coffee Shop, one of the OG, like Sightsee Coffee Shop and Zaobao Biscuit are some of the OG supporters, because like even when it was like unpopular to like, I guess I wouldn't say all that, but even times when it was unpopular and it was more popular to just take the business Like, we're just a business. We're not in the politics route. They're like, nah, fuck all that. We're gonna be in the political route. Like, shoot, Sightsee said defund and abolish the police. Like, Zaobao hasn't gone down, but they've gone to defund. They're like, why is all of our funds going to this? So they use their platforms well. So you need like organizations like that to like have a platform and like a different. They're not just like activist people following. There's people who just might want to drink coffee or eat a meal, but it's like, oh, I'm gonna learn some shit today too. So all those folks. Destiny's Community Cafe. She hooks me up with a lot of food. So got a lot of different food connections. People hooking it up. So.
Can you talk more about what the protests on Sunday were about and kind of your reaction to them?
Yeah, sure. So on Sunday, the protest was still about George Floyd, but it was also about all victims of police violence. So Sunday, and we made that clear in our speeches and what we said, where it's like, you know, George Floyd is a flashpoint incident, but we've seen things that happen, you know, even with like the Manual 9 and the Walter Scott case. And, you know, we really tried to make it about connecting all of that and being united. And, you know, honestly, like, it was tough. We weren't even able to get a lot of our messaging out because we just got brutalized real quick. Like, it was like Saturday we were able to have speakers and talk and, you know, do different things. And that was where, you know, the uprising happened on Saturday. But the Sunday, like I said, it was just, you know, us just being there and trying to, like, you know, move correct. And obviously we weren't involved in as far as BLM. We weren't involved in, and me personally wasn't involved in the riots, for the record. But even though a lot of Republican politicians like think otherwise, but regardless, yeah. So Sunday was about unity, connecting. We were out there in force, I remember, and, you know, like I said, I think it really popped off when we were trying to take 7 minutes of like, you know, for George Floyd, and they started shooting at us. Many of us, while we were laying down, like, just shooting at us with, you know, their pepper bullets or whatever. I got shot a couple times. My homegirl, my ex-girlfriend, actually got shot in her face. Like, was real, like, bruised up, had like a bruised eye. She was like with us. She's been, you know, steady throughout a lot of stuff. But regardless, yeah, they like brutalized us then, and it's never been the same. And they've gotten more money to do that exact same thing, like over $1 million to like brutalize folks who are trying to use their First Amendment rights. So yeah, it's a whole bunch of BS. But I'd say, yeah, that was what it was about. Just, you know, uplifting everybody. You know, still showing folks that even though there's a violent protest the night before, that, you know, we could do it nonviolently. And a lot of the stuff we learned throughout that night, or like since then actually, we learned a lot of the folks who came and did the rioting. A lot of the folks many of the folks who weren't even at the original protest on Saturday. So it was a real slap in the face to a lot of us, because like, you don't even really care about this shit, but you allure the story, you know what I mean? Versus like somebody who I get who may be mad and like might like break a car or some shit like that. Like, that's different. But if you're going and loot, like I said, all forms of resistance we accept, but at the same time, there's, especially like if you're white and you're doing all that crazy shit, like, sit your ass down, in my opinion. Because there's some white folks, like I said, this one white girl who like I knew beforehand, she was like not even at the protest, didn't even give a fuck about, you know, black people, black lives, but we just day drinking before, and then literally like looted like over 10 bands from the store. 10 bands, like $10,000. And I was like, bitch, you don't even, sorry, but you don't even, so it was a lot of frustration, to say the least, just like hearing that and like being tied so closely in. Like, I be telling people, like, and this is another thing with like, for example, there's an old civil rights leader who's been here forever, well respected. I don't even say her name because I don't want her to come at me. But I was even talking to her recently now, like, all the stuff we do is public, so people know how much we're in the community and stuff. But she was on the phone with me like, I rock for everything I do, but you know what, I can't do the looting. I was like, like we don't do, like, that's like, people think like we stand on the corner and that's what we're, hey go, let's go loot, like, you know, like, that's not what we preach. And even though like we are about resistance by any means necessary, people think that's literally all we do, and they put us in a box, and we've had to escape that box. But at the end of the day, like, we can only do the work that we do already, and you know, if people accept it, cool. If not, fuck it.
And how long have you been living and working in the Eastside?
So I've been here. I actually live on Line Street, so I live close to the West Side. But I've been working here like pretty much since like that incident, like pretty much since last summer. Yeah. So, but I used to, a couple of my homegirls used to live out here, so I used to be out here a lot. But I didn't do a lot of like work here till like I got involved in the BLM chapter.
And have you noticed any changes since you've moved to the Eastside? Moved around the Eastside? As
far as like what, like as far as like changes of what's like how the neighborhood looks, or
with how the neighborhood looks, police presence, anything of the sort.
Yeah, so I mean, it's in the last year since I've been here, it got a lot more gentrified. Like a lot of people getting kicked out of their houses, especially with the pandemic. It hit a lot of people hard. So I noticed that. I noticed, I don't know, as far as police presence, I've seen it definitely increase and get crazy at times. I've also been to visuals where like for example, there's a visual, I think his name's Robert Jenkins, but he was killed in a drive-by shooting, and he was a young guy. A lot of my students actually knew him because I teach at Berg High School. But a lot of my students knew him. They're out there, and I said a couple things, but the whole thing of the visual though, or not the whole thing, like it was obviously a visual respecting his life, but flashpoint to me was that during the shooting, there was a cop like a block away, drove off, didn't do anything to like stop the situation or nothing, he just like dipped, and the whole community saw it. Like everybody was like, there was literally a cop on duty right there, so it was like, you know, it was one of those slaps in the face, because like we'll always, anytime we say defund the police or divest from the police, they were like, oh well, what about the crime? It's like y'all were there at the crime and y'all still didn't do shit. So it's like, why do you need you here for? Why do we keep putting money into this and community policing and all this if you aren't gonna do shit when people are literally getting shot in the streets? So yeah, I mean, for that and a myriad of reasons, that's just one of the different things we've seen here as far as like Eastside and police presence. Something I've noticed too more, and this is something I rock with, is like people that get more familiar with me, so that's a good thing. That's not more like a description of the Eastside, but just people who's like, yo, say what's up, you know? Because I do so much, and a lot of stuff is like, I won't do it on record, or I won't do it under the BLM name. I'll just like do it and just be out there. Like I'd pass out food like at least once or twice, maybe like, yeah, once or twice a month, and just like, we'll have a food drive, or like somebody like, oh, we got this food, we need to get off. You know, I'll just like go Martin Park, Mall Park, and just like pass out food. So I've noticed people say, oh yeah, you're that kid, or oh, I saw you on the news. You did, yeah, you Black Lives Matter, okay, fish up. So you know, I just see people like, and especially something young, like people don't see that. You know what I mean? People don't see young black men do shit like that and be out there like that. You know what I mean? So it's like to see somebody doing it in Charleston and just be like on the East Side that much, I feel like some of the old heads really respect me, and like, you know, I don't want to speak too highly of myself out there. I just think they really respect what I'm doing, and they let me know. It's like, you know, I rock with you, bro. Like, you're a real one, and just, you know, I appreciate that love, because like I could give a fuck what Post and Courier, like these other, you know, white organizations care, but if I get that support and love from people in my community, like, so all that matters to me. So,
as a young leader in this community, how would you say the youth should be engaged in the future?
I feel like that's a tough one, because I feel like the youth are always engaged if it's something that they give a fuck about. But at the same time, we could be more engaged. And I feel like, especially just like black youth, is so hard, because like you're going through so much shit, like your identity and, you know, family situations, and like a lot of times like black teens and black, you know, young adults, just like, I feel like they have trouble because they're dealing with so much shit, and they know that there's issues, but it's like, is my voice even gonna affect it? And I feel like sometimes we feel silenced, and that whole like how a lot of people, and black people especially, people of color just in general, will feel like a lot of the political realm is like white spaces, and it's just like, oh, I don't talk like that, or I don't have a background, like I'm not welcome into these white spaces. And I've been real adamant and being like, yo, fuck that. Like, if you have a voice and your voice is like, regardless of how you speak or if you get nervous, like, say what the fuck you gotta say. Because it's like, if you don't say nothing, they're not gonna believe that there's issues. So say some shit, but because I know there's issues and can't tell me there's not, because I see them. So it's like, just say what's on your mind, say what you need to say, and get off your chest, is what I say. But I think in regards to how they should, I feel like it just depends on the times. I think we'll still be I think my kids will be still fighting similar fights that I fight, unfortunately. But it is what it is. White supremacy is strong. But I say, yeah, I mean, I think in the ways that she can engage, it's up to them. I mean, I think young folks should be more engaged for sure. But politics is an old white man game, and they have all the money and they have all the resources and connections. So sometimes it feels like it's an uphill battle. But I mean, I think they should just get involved any way they can. I don't want to tell them what way, but you just gotta make sure you do it, make sure it's consistent, because they like to hear somebody and like duck off. And also, I mean, just a tip for young folks, just like, I don't know, just if you use your voice, like, make sure it's consistent. Don't let anybody write you off or like treat you like a kid, because no matter how old you are, you still have an experience, and that experience is valid. So like, I mean, I felt shit. I was like paying bills at like 16, and felt like I was an adult at 14, like a grown ass man. I was like, I can move out right now. Like, I was like getting money and stuff. So I don't know. I'd say, yeah, I'd hope that they stay engaged, but as far as how they do that, I just hope they just be continuous with it.
Can you talk more about your teaching role at Burke High School and how that intersects with your work with BLM?
Sure. Well, a lot of times, so like pretty much all the teachers know who I am because they see me on TV. The kids, it's half and half. So like some of them like, yeah. Some people like, I don't care. But some of the kids, regardless of where they're at in that spectrum, like 9 out of 10, all the kids rock with me, because one, I think I'm one of the youngest black teachers there. I be getting mistaken for a kid all the time. But yeah, I mean, as far as like how it intersects, I mean, I think it gives me more credence, because I feel like a lot of times like the city officials and folks will try to like play me off or be like, oh, like this is not an issue. Like, we're in the schools, we're in da-da-da. But I'd be like, nah, I'm at Burke. Like, I'm teaching these kids every day, so I don't talk to them like that. And I've been like, I'm real protective, even my ECDC kids, but it's like, since I'm at Burke, like, it's certain shit you can't tell me. It's certain shit, like, you can't, fool me, because it's like, I know what the fuck's going on. So, and something too is like, early on, they like to paint CHS BLM, and what we're all about is like outsiders who aren't in this organization, who aren't in the hood like that. And they try to do that even with the national BLM, like, oh, BLM don't really help black people like that, da-da-da. So I had to dead all that shit and just be like, and regardless of like, we do stuff on our organization, yes, but you can never tell me about what I do and don't do, because if you don't do shit, like if you're not out here as much as me or as us, then you don't have a pedestal to say this stuff on. You know what I mean? Like I'll tell people, it's like, yo, what have you done? And if you want to help us out this, cool. If you doing something, we'll uplift it. But like, don't just like throw shots or shoot shots. It's like we continue to do the work. So I think, to answer your question though, Burke High School, I think it just gives me a good screenshot or snapshot of what a lot of these kids go through, because I'm in their lives a lot. And they wear a lot of their what they're going through on their shoulders and on their sleeves. So I don't know, just seeing that, just kind of like being there for the kid, because a lot of them, like they live downtown. So just kind of like hearing their stories, even like with the Ron Janae Smith, the young lady who was killed in North Charleston. She was like 14, I believe, just turned 14. But she, a lot of my kids were at that party where, it got shot up, and just like hearing their stories on things like that, on like, on top of that, even like with, getting a job, like a lot of these kids are going through check stress at 15, 16. It's like, I was going through the same shit. So I was like, I don't front you, because I was like working, I had a full, like almost part-time, close to full-time job, when I was 15, 16, even working illegally at sometimes. But I say, just like getting that pulse is important, and you get that from the kids, because like, they're direct. A lot of times they're direct products of their environment, and whether that's a good thing or bad thing is like to be decided. But I don't know. I feel like it just gives me a good pulse on what's going on.
How would you describe the high school you currently teach at?
I think it's real cool. I mean, it's Title I school for sure, predominantly black, historically black. Actually, my granddad and my great grandma went to Burke, and I remember my last story. I remember my great grandma telling me, it was like, yeah, like we went to Burke. We had like our book straps. Like they used to have like belts, and like, you know, that's how they used to carry the books. And I think she said her book bag broke, and he took the belt off of his pants and like, and they went to school together. I think he ended up that's my granddad. But regardless, she just told me stories like that. But yeah, so I say all that to say, historically black high school, I think it's good. I mean, we got a good black teaching staff. I mean, I love it out there. So, yeah.
And what grades do you teach?
I teach all the grades, so 9th through 12th. So I've been seeing a little bit of everything.
And what do you teach specifically?
I'm a substitute teacher there, so they just have me, you know, in and out of different things. But I like English language arts. It's my favorite one.
Outside of your teaching role, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years, and where do you see the Eastside in 5 to 10 years?
So, as far as my role in BLM,
just in general.
So, I see myself in 5 years. What year is it? 2021. I want to have a house in Charleston, be paying it off, paying my mortgage off. I'll probably start student loans. Don't want to kid myself, but still want to be working on the East Side. Still, you know, I want to be at in the Eastside Development Corporation. They asked me to be a board member recently, so probably be still doing that. Hopefully, still with the chapter, if we can still get to grow some more. Still looking for some pieces to grow. But as far as like on me, I want to, you know, have my house. I want to hopefully have a restaurant as well. Like a little late night soul food spot, and also like do events and stuff and like event space as well. But so I want to be doing that. I want to, you know, continuously be doing the work, fighting for what I need to fight for. Thought about running for office. Some people really do want me to, so that could be, you know, very well a possibility. About 5 years now, because I was thinking, shoot, I'm gonna run like 2 or 3 years, but you know, I could definitely see myself if I get elected, you know, be serving on that role. But even if I get elected, I do want to still, if I haven't found a successor to lead the chapter, I'll still, you know, probably honestly be involved. Even if I'm not the lead organizer, I'll still be like a co-leader, but just as a politician. But I still want to be like boots on the ground. I still want to be, you know, out there like that, regardless of, you know, what position I'm in. You know, I still want to be out there using my voice.
And where do you see this community in 5 to 10 years?
Community Eastside?
Yeah.
Shoot, way go one of two ways. If it goes the way I don't want it to go, I can see this whole place being gentrified out, the black community totally erased in 5 years. If it goes the rate it's going. But if something's drastically done to, you know, stop that, then, you know, it could be different. I could see the Eastside Community Center being better, being bigger, built up more. I could see some of the parks getting renovated, getting better. I want them to improve some of the housing conditions, because the housing conditions are inhumane right now. So just want to see a lot more work done. But I think, like I said, there's two options. They could very well wipe out a majority of the black population that lives on the East Side if they keep doing what they're doing now. But on the less, like I said, on the more positive, I think there's some changes on the way that could make things go down. I think there's a new, like, folks are like, you know, we're trying to start like a real estate club. Like, there's a lot of different, you know, things they're trying to do to stop that from happening. But it's, I mean, I've heard from OGs, like, they think, you know, that's just how it's going to be regardless of what we do. But I mean, we'll see. But I could definitely, I can see there's improvements on the works, to answer your question now. I could see it still be thriving. I think the gentrification is something that, you know, there's gonna have to be a real big tipping point or something that you're like, all right, this is enough for it to actually be enough, or it's just gonna be like the same shit, you know. 5 years, and excuse me, not same shit, totally different shit. Like all the old people and people who lived there their whole lives, just like, you know, have to uproot and like leave because the house price, you know, prices of living is so high up there, and just like the land taxes and stuff. But I don't know. I can see it going a couple different ways, but I'm hoping for the best.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share that you haven't mentioned already today?
No. I'd say one other thing. Don't think we mentioned as far as like, I guess like relationships with other people in the community. Like I've had, like, not even on the East Side in general. I know it's like been talking about the East Side a lot, but just relationships that I've had to build in Charleston. Charleston's so culturally diverse, so I want to say a big part of my story and the way that I am right now is obviously a lot of my own perseverance and, you know, what I've been doing, but there's been so many people who've like stepped in and like helped out and like laid it all on the line to like, you know, make sure I'm successful and make sure things are good. And it's just too many people to shout out, but I do want to say, you know, it is, I am a product of like people like lifting me up, and, you know, there's even like people tearing me down. It's like I use that as ammo sometimes. It's like I take, you know, the negative, or sometimes just, you know, actual criticism that's, you know, valid, but I just use all that to make myself a better person. So value my relationships, and I value, you know, just doing, you know, continuing the work, because, you know, the work will have to continue regardless of, you know, who's here to fight it. So, you know, even after me and after my time, like I hope, you know, there's people who continue to fight, regardless of how long I live or how long, you know, my activism or activeness in activism is. I just hope there's a continuity, and I think that's what I was saying before. As far as like the youth and what I want them to do, it's like it has to be a continuation, and it has to be, you know, people continuing this work, because energy cannot be destroyed nor created. It can only, I forgot the rest of it, but you know what I mean. So trying to just like continue that energy, and I'm hoping that this interview and just like continuously speaking the truth and saying what needs to be said, I think hopefully just inspire some folks, like go out and do it. The work's there. You just got to find the right people to do it with, and find the right relationships to use, and you can do it, and you make a change in your community.
I'd like to thank you for sitting down with us today and sharing your experiences. I appreciate it.
Thank you.